What was the turning point? What were you guys thinking when you're like, all right, we're gonna go in, husband, wife team, boom, we're gonna start a business? What was that moment? What were you guys doing before then?
I think it happened during COVID. We had a lot of time. We always had the dream to move to Florida because part of my family is here. And so we said, okay, what could be an option? What can we do there? And as we weren't really clear what's gonna bang, we said, okay, let's just call it Home Service Company.
You guys, almost 6 months in, you almost went bankrupt when you were trying to start it. Like, what does that look like?
You do business plan, but you learn by the end the business plan is just on paper. It's about you to execute that and then follow the rules and also, let's say, build on the business plan. In the reality, it takes always longer than you expect, but by the end, I can tell you it pays off.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Superpro podcast, the heartbeat of home service excellence. I'm Roland Ligtenberg. I am your host. I'm also the co-founder of Housecall Pro, and I advocate for all the hardworking pros out there that make our homes better, safer, and more comfortable. Through Housecall Pro, I've had the privilege of supporting hundreds of thousands of pros just like you, empowering you all to achieve more, stress less, and redefine success in industry. I'm really excited today. I've got Conny and Ben Spiske. They are the owners of SunConsult Home Services Company. They are based in sunny Florida, and we're going to dive in a little bit more, learn a little bit about their business. They closed out 2024 at a $1.2 million rate, and their 2025 goal is almost double that. So explosive growth. They're doing something right. I'm super curious to see what we can learn from both Ben and Conny. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah. Definitely. So tell me a little bit, what was the turning point? What were you guys thinking when you're like, all right, we're going to go in, husband, wife team, boom, we're going to start a business? What was that moment? What were you guys doing before then?
So we both were employed. That's a funny story. We never have been self-employed, so we never had a business. We never worked together. We were back in Germany. We had great jobs. We had safe jobs, good income. Everything was settled. And I think it happened during COVID. We had a lot of time. And so we were thinking, okay, I was short before turning 40. And we both were, talking about what can we do. And we always had the dream to move to Florida because part of my family is here. And so we said, okay, what could be an option? What can we do there? And as we weren't really clear what's gonna bang, we said, okay, let's just call it Home Service Company, because Home Service Company can be anything. We don't know yet. Is it property management? Is it architecture? Is it construction? Whatever. And it took us a year to really have all papers together and so on. And then we moved in October 2022. And we had to found a business before that. So we tried to work, from Germany to settle everything and get everything in the right position. But that was quite hard. So after we moved, it went quickly.
And so, starting a business, there's a lot of risk involved, and it's not easy. You guys, almost 6 months in, almost went bankrupt when you were trying to start it. Like, what does that look like? I know there's really high highs and really low lows, when it comes to entrepreneurship. But how did you guys kind of navigate through that? What happened there?
I mean, let's start from scratch. And if you start from scratch, and then you have a clear perspective, you do business plan, but you learn by the end the business plan is just on paper. It's about you to execute that and then follow the rules and also, let's say, build on the business plan in the reality. And I mean, I was an architect in Germany already, and I had a good knowledge about construction, and I had to consider that everything is running smoothly with, let's say, also transferring these credentials to the US, but it's not. So you literally start from scratch, and the plan was since the beginning that I'm going for the general contractor license, but didn't expect that much knowledge to gain before I can even go for the examination, And that's a learning. It takes always longer than you expect, but by the end, I can tell you it pays off. It pays off to do that and do that hurdle of aiming for something, aiming for license, do it legally and do it right.
Yeah. And I think that's it's really amazing because you have all this previous experience, from before you came to the States, and coming here you had to relearn, and probably there's a whole bunch
Yes,
of different regulations and things you're not really aware of, and you got to go get all
correct.
the business licenses, all of the things to be able to operate well, which, is definitely a struggle and a lot of work, and like you said, sometimes takes a little longer than you may think.
Yeah, and that was why we were almost bankrupt because we didn't expect it to take so long. So we had a cushion, of course. We brought money. So because we knew, okay, there are not going to be clients tomorrow morning. So you have to work for that. And yeah, but as his license took longer, I had to make up my mind, okay, how can we get money in the bank? So, and
Yeah.
I just tried to figure out a way to earn money. So we took on smaller jobs. I mean, I remember we cut down trees and all of those things, we were not expected to do, but we did it. And finally, I ended up with the idea of the interior design to really, focus on homes and houses and furnishings and all of that. And I had struggled to call clients because, my English wasn't very good. And so I said, okay, I have to do it. I talked to Ben and I said, I mean, I have to call them, even if my English is not good. And finally, I realized, and that was also a learning for me. In South Florida, everybody speaks some kind of English. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
so it was fine. At the end, I wasn't ashamed anymore. I was more proud that I made it.
I think a lot of people have to overcome some sort of like self-limiting beliefs or self-doubts about things, and language is so core to communicating. But at the end of the
Yes.
day, I think people always be able to feel your intention and to feel your care. And with your guys' business model coming in, trying to really make clients feel like they're at home in their own spaces,
Hmm.
mixing kind of that design aspect, starting to bring in the general construction architectural side. You guys have found a really fun way to get to where you guys are now, which now
Yes.
seems like
Yes.
a overnight success. But there's a lot of struggles that go behind the scenes.
Yes.
That a lot of our pros just need to know is a part of the process. It's not just
Yeah.
like, oh, click a button and boom, you're $1 million business.
No, of course not. But also, that's the fun part because, I mean, during the way you think about, oh my gosh, why did I do that? I was employed. Everything was so easy. But at the end, you didn't live your life. You lived somebody else's life. You work for somebody else. And this is worth it. At the end, now I look back after 2 years, I say, oh my gosh, what did we do? How far did we come? I mean, that's amazing.
And look, as you grow, you have to bring other people into your mission. You want them
Of
to work
course.
for you. You want them to care about the customers as much as you do. And obviously, as an owner, you have all the reasons in the world. As an employee, maybe you have some less. But where are you finding good people that are saying, "All right, I want to work with Connie and Ben"? Where are you finding these folks? Are you training them from scratch? Do they come with experience? How are you sourcing these great employees?
That's a great question, Roland. And that was for sure not easy in the beginning. That was maybe one of the reasons the first half of the year, maybe a year, was really a struggle to find good people because, I mean, English was okay, Spanish a
Hmm.
no-go. So,
Yeah.
and specifically in South Florida, we are quite Spanish driven, and we learned also the culture difference. There's a culture difference between Germans, between Colombians, between Cubans, and maybe people from wherever they are. But let's say talking about construction business, the majority of
Yeah.
people coming from the Spanish, let's say, region and Latin Americas, what also you need to find good people, and also then you need to, as you said, good people that follow your mission and they understand what you're looking for. And that was a struggle in the beginning, but we worked out that we found really good people for us, specifically Colombian, because we realized the mindset of Colombians and Germans are quite similar. We aim for the best, we work hard for that, what we would like to achieve together. And also, I mean, we bringing in different technologies and different, let's say, also materials, what they're not typically used here. I mean, starting with shower renovations. Everyone thinks he can do a shower renovation, but it's not. They're going for Home Depot, they're going for the cheap shower pan. And that's the standard since 30 years. Okay, you can do it, but don't wonder after 10 years if your shower's leaking again. So do the right stuff, do it with the right products. And I don't want to say I'm proud of Germany. No, I'm proud of Americas and Germany, but but Germany has also great products what we can find in the US market as well, and that's the game changer, doing a really good quality with the knowledge of architecture and construction and making our clients happy.
Yeah, and I think that culture aspect, you were touching on it a little bit, is making sure you can find the right people that at least have a similar starting point or a similar viewpoint, making it easier for them to engage and do well, in your business. I think sometimes, I can imagine, definitely coming from Europe, there's a different sense of a work week. In the United States, there's also a different sense of a work week. And then across cultures, there's also different senses, and trying to get them, all to align must be very difficult.
I think it was harder for us, but because we are used to, have a lot of vacations and holidays. In Germany, it's like, that's very strict. Let's say this, on Christmas, during Christmas, on the 24th, we stop working in Germany, okay? And we start on the 6th of January, basically. But here in the US, we learned, okay, now it's Christmas, and then the next day you're already at the building site. What?
and it's pretty simple to explain. Now we work for the people. They're making here vacation. They're having here their vacation homes. They use it for, let's say, for a period of time of the year, and they realize after 30 years, hey, come on, we need to do something. Let's find someone to help us to make it nice and comfy. Yeah.
And they are here during Christmas, so we work during Christmas.
Right. And so you're kind of like in an alternating, snowbird cycle, where
Correct.
they come for the warmth, and then the beautiful weather. And so they need it, and they need it quick. And, and that makes a lot of sense. When you guys are thinking about the future of SunConsult, how are you guys thinking about, growing? How are you guys thinking about adding extra services or getting more of the same kind of client? What's your vision?
Let's say it like that. So as Conny stated in the beginning of our conversation, that we were not sure what pops. That's why we called the company SunConsult, the Florida Sun, and consulting something we didn't know what we consult. So to be honest. No, but we had a perspective of, let's say, the construction. We had a perspective, and that's what we can. When we know is about the interior design, what was, let's say, our second part. And starting from residential, that's something we learned a lot. And as we are, let's say, licensed, insured, and certified, we are working a lot in these jobs. Let's say we have not that much competitive, or competitors in, specifically on condo buildings or so. You can only work with a license, and if you have the proper insurance in the background, just need to point it out, because that makes the difference. And that are also, I believe, the nicer jobs. What we all also realized the last years, and talking about growth and growth expectations, so we hope then we can grow this year, and a big part of the growth initiative will be also commercial spaces. So we are working since last year on leads or prospects on the commercial space as well. We are specialized in commercial offices, and specifically office spaces for medical use, so medical offices, where we bring a lot of experience from Europe, how a nice, let's say, office and medical office specifically should be, that the patient can calm down, relax, and having a good, let's say, circumstances there, and having a good conversation with the doctors and with the nurses and everything. That's for sure our next step, to be more visible in this market, also with the brand of SunConsult, and serving our clients better in the commercial space.
Yeah, and I think what you guys are doing is really interesting, because you have quicker cycle residential projects, that also quicker pay, they're able to complete.
Yes.
And then when you mix in some longer term, like you mentioned, commercial ones that have a longer cycle, a longer pipeline, you even mentioned they've been working on it since last year, to start building the pipeline for that. But it sounds like you guys are diversifying some of the different business cycles and avenues where you're getting leads from. Are you going to continue finding people that have experience in the commercial side? Or do you guys feel like, hey, you know what, you understand that enough, you just need really like the labor and the people that have some particular like expertise, but not necessarily in the commercial side?
Let me answer this question like that I believe we never at the end of learning on the learning curve. I think we learn every day, and for that also we will meet other people. We consult other people that help us and as business consultants to bring our business to the next level. But it's also on the other side, we're using resources for our team to develop them, to grow them better in a way of more material and construction expertise, specifically in the commercial space, is needed, because that is a different level of just installing a vanity. No, it's about building full bathrooms and maybe schools or whatever, having certificates for that as well. I mean, that's a big opportunity in the commercial space for all of us. And I think being more professional, there's an absolute need for.
Yeah. And at what part of this journey were you guys like, okay, we need something like Housecall Pro to help us? What was the moment when you were like, okay, we need to find some better way to attract something or to communicate to customers? Was it always part of the plan, or was it halfway through the plan? Like, what happened there?
To be honest, yes. Housecall was since the beginning, even in the founding phase of SunConsult, Housecall Pro was always the piece what we needed, because we knew, and as we're coming from sales and positions in Europe, we knew that we need a system available where we have, let's say, a proper managing and tracking of our clients' activities. And what we like on Housecall is it's not overcomplicated, and it gives us enough, let's say, tools by the hand in a simple and easy way to manage customer relationship management and projects in the flow of the project. So even if it's just a technician or a short visit of a maintenance visit, or is it even a full job, then we can both use the Housecall Pro system.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It's also, you have to imagine, I mean, I buy furniture for my clients. So if I'm basically what I'm doing is I get the money in, and then I make the whole ordering process. And this is also what I do with Housecall. So I put the purchase order in there. They've seen all the items before that. They pay over the system alone. That gives me the freedom that I don't have to ask for a check, or I wait for the transfer or whatever. It's just, I send them over the invoice, they click on the link and they pay it. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And I think, when it comes to just small business, cash flow is so important.
Yeah.
And people need to realize, like, you don't have to be a bank. You don't have to fund and buy stuff ahead of time before you get paid too. And especially on the residential side, try to get all those funds in first. And then on the light commercial side, there's definitely a lot of folks that use Housecall Pro because there's essentially a way to do what are called segments inside of Housecall Pro, but also you can just do appointments, which is like a newer feature where if you just want to send someone out as an appointment, that might not even be billable, but just someone to go on site. So there's different ways, and it's very flexible, but you have to try to figure out how to use it. It takes a second, but once you build the system, then you can keep repeating it.
Yeah, but compared to other systems, I think it's still easy to understand. So that's the really good point about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you guys are thinking about Housecall Pro, is there something that now? I mean, you guys are almost trying to double this year. Is there something that now that you wish you would have done from the start with Housecall Pro? Is there a particular feature or a particular flow or a particular
Yes, I know something. I know something. The pipeline tool is pretty cool, but you have to really involve it from the beginning on, because if you pass that moment where you start taking over leads, and that's what I realized, then you don't integrate it anymore in your workflow because you're not used to clicking on that tool. But the tool is great. But if you are used to, I don't know, for example, you have an Excel sheet or so, you will always go back to that Excel sheet just because you're so used to it. And this is what I can say. So the pipeline tool is really good, but you have to use it from the beginning on. That's my recommendation on that point.
That's good. That's good advice. What about you, Ben? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's what you said, the segment piece. I mean, that's something what I just, let's say, try to use through the bigger construction projects, and that helps, let's say, to better invoice following, let's say, also the steps of the contract and the milestones of a project. But there's still something, I mean, we need to improve that also. We are not perfect. I mean, we learn every day, as I said, and we need to improve that. So maybe there's another tool in the future what makes construction um,
Even
accounting
easier. Yeah.
according to a project flow more convenient.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And inside a House Call Pro, I think, most of our pros now should have access to our progressive billing. So you can do
Mhm.
milestone based billing independent of the job cycle itself. And so for those that are using House Call Pro that are doing bigger projects, kind of like Ben and Connie are working on some of the commercial side of things, you can kind of independently split them. They don't have to be tied to a job or a work order. Obviously, on the residential side, you try to compress the cash flow. You try to like, here's the job, the work order, the dollars, pay me, boom, and get going because you want
Mhm.
to go into the next one. The longer jobs, typically more involved. Like Ben said, there's more steps, there's more pieces of the puzzle that you have to play around with.
Yeah,
Tell me,
correct.
tell me, tell me a little bit about the House Call Pro community. What do you think? How do you guys interact with it? Why is it important to you guys?
I mean, the overall package I think is really good with Housecall Pro, and there's I want to share some nice examples because since the beginning it was a kind of family situation. So even if you don't know each single contractor, but I would say how you manage from the Housecall Pro perspective, um, specifically if you're a Superpro member, what we are, what makes the total difference that you offer, let's say, gimmicks and add-ons, what makes, let's say, our life much more easier also in with the internal communications. I just want to give you an example. Every Friday we meet for the Superpro office hours to share our ideas about the system, sharing our experience, what is led by Shayna Potter. What is great because I mean we can learn from each other. It's an open platform. It's a kind of networking event. What I really appreciate, even if I cannot join every Friday, but I try to make it happen. The other thing is also that what we used back in the days,
The Conquer coaching.
the
You
Conquer
want, yeah,
coaching.
yeah.
Connie will tell you.
Yeah, yeah. We
Mm-hmm.
had a coach and that helped us a lot because as I said in the beginning, we never were self-employed. We never had a business. So we had to learn a lot. And how you gonna do that? Well, best thing is you ask somebody else. And Conquer coaching was for us, it helped me specifically in the beginning to get used to some situation I haven't known before. So let's say a difficult client or so. We had our coach, Michael Johnson. He was really the right person for me because he calmed me down so much. I told him, I was like excited and upset. And I told him, I don't know why it doesn't, and so on. And he said, just repeat it 3 times in front of the client. And he was so calm. And I hung up and I'm like, yes, that's it. He's right. There's no problem, and and we will
Yeah.
definitely I think there are phases in your business where you need a coach more and there are phases in your business you need it maybe less, but it definitely makes sense to sign up for the Conquer coaching, definitely.
Yeah, and even the best athletes have coaches. Everyone has
Of
coaches,
course,
operating at
yes.
high performance levels. And it's a lot of it's because of accountability and a lot of it's sometimes because of self-limiting beliefs and you need someone to tell you, "Oh no, it is just this easy." And then you're like, "Ah,
Correct.
maybe they are saying it is really easy. Let me try it." And then all of a sudden your brain goes, "Oh, it is really easy." Whereas
Yes.
before maybe you saw this big cloud or you're like, "I don't know if we can do this."
Yeah.
Or even when it comes to raising pricing, people are like, I don't know if I can raise the prices. And the coach goes, hey, raise your price by
Mhm.
1.5x. I bet you close rate is still the same. And what do you but know? It is the
Mhm.
same,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes you don't see how far you've progressed yourself, but a coach definitely can help you with that.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
this has been there. I mean, there's so many great golden nuggets here. When you guys are thinking about, your lives, you started the business a little bit later in life. What advice would you give people with that? Is it is it easy? Is it hard? Is it something you guys would do over again the same way? What kind of advice would you give your younger selves?
I definitely would do the same thing. We started later, yes, that's true, but also I think for us it was the right time because I always see it like that. So in my 30s, I had other things, okay? I had other things in my head. Ben too. We have a daughter. Those were the years you buy your first house, whatever you have a baby and so on. So with the 40, um, that's the right moment because in your 50s it can also be like you're so settled down, you think like, it's so hard and now change, you're maybe already a little bit tired. So for us the 40s were great. And I think that definitely it's never too late. But for us, the 40s were great.
Yeah, I think it's a really great proof point too. Just the American dream, like being able to move to another country, start a business, build a multi-million-dollar business in your 40s. Be able to do that. Obviously, you both clearly had experience in the past. It wasn't from nothing. You guys have a lot of
Yes.
a knowledge that you attained. But with that, and I mean, be able to get to this place is just amazing. Is there any advice you would tell your younger self? So maybe 30-year Connie or 30-year Ben. What would you say to them when it comes to either building a business, life? What kind of advice would you say? I want something from each of you. So something from Connie and something from Ben. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say.
You want to start?
I want to start.
I don't know. Do you want to start?
I just can share my experience, and for me, trying something out like that in my 30s was maybe too early. So my recommendation is don't wait too long, don't do it in the 50s, but also the 30s, maybe you don't have the seniority of leading people, of having a knowledge about, let's say, the trade or whatever business you're doing. Make your homework, that's for sure. Do your homework and be on the forefront with your team. Not being just the leader in the background, being on the forefront. And that's I think, and also don't be the guy standing behind them. No, be the guy to be with them and work with them. And I think that's a big difference. Hands-on, starting from scratch, building that together. Let the crew also realize that they be a part of that, and then it will work out. You will find the clients for sure. If you tell this story to your clients, what you're doing, what you're believing in, and what is your mission, and what people are working for you, what fun you have with the crew, then it will be perfect.
It'll work out. I love that. That's good advice. What about you, Connie? What would you tell your younger self?
So I would definitely tell my younger self, think more positive and be more confident, because I think that's a big point. Definitely, because it's risky, of course. Yes. Nothing about that. It's true. But then still, I think if you're in it, if the fire burns inside you, so what can go wrong? I mean, and you always have options, right? So if this part doesn't work out, then you try something else. And this is what it is. Be more confident and just think more positive.
I love both those tips. On Ben's side, as he was saying it, I was thinking about, leaders take out the trash, which means, you don't lead from behind, you lead like with, and there's no task beneath you. And then your crews will respect and enjoy and having fun working alongside of you. And on Connie's side, her tip of just being positive, being confident. I think we all grow up with a little bit of imposter syndrome, but as we get older, we realize that most people don't even know what they're doing. Everyone's just pretending. And everyone's just doing the best that they can with what they have. So if you're confident and you have a positive outlook, you're always going to end up successful because, that's what helps drive you forward. Thank you to both so very much for so many great tips. It's wonderful to see you guys having such great success. I wish you guys nothing but the best. And for all of our pros that are listening, if you liked what you heard today, we're going to have another great episode next week. If you're curious about Housecall Pro and you want to get a demo, go to housecallpro.com/podcast deals, or you can text me directly at 858-215-1512. But if you want to hear it from the horse's mouth, go look up Connie and Ben. Go look up their business and give them a call. I'm sure they'd be happy to share any other tips and tricks with you all. Thank you again so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you so much for having us. Have a great rest of your day and never stop moving.
Thank you,
Never
Roland.
Stop moving. I love it.
Thank you.
All right, bye guys.
The Superpro podcast is brought to you by Housecall Pro, the leading platform for the home service industry. Housecall Pro streamlines your workflows and simplifies everything from scheduling and dispatching to communication and billing. Unlock the full potential of your home service business with Housecall Pro. Work smarter and more efficiently with streamlined workflows and detailed analytics. Win more business and serve your customers well, every single time. Join more than 40,000 home service pros who have already revolutionized their businesses. Work smarter with streamlined workflows, get organized with centralized information, and scale your business your way. Learn more at housecallpro.com.